One of the clocks is wrong.
Oh, yeah. That's our sister. That's the sister county clock.
That's if you're late.
Yeah.
That's what this one is.
Well, maybe it is. Is that that letter that sent in and then I copied that one. Now, which one? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call our January 13th Board of Supervisors meeting to order. We do not need electronic participation, so we'll head into roll call.
Mr. Hodges?
Here.
Mr. Edwards?
Here.
Mr. Catlett?
Here.
Ms. Bancroft? Here. Chair Robinson?
Here. Next up, review and adoption of our meeting agenda. Do you have any changes?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, I want to look at splitting or proposing our closed session this evening and changing the potential transfer of real estate to item 8A.
Okay.
Can you repeat that?
Splitting the closed session this evening and moving the presentation separate from each other and moving on to the very beginning.
Okay.
That's the only one.
Anything else?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to accept it as amended.
Do I have a second?
Oh, second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If everyone would please join me for a brief moment of silence. Thank you all.
Oh.
All right, next we have our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we're going to jump into our work session matters, which were carried over from our last meeting that we missed due to inclement weather. So I, as chair, am going to ask Ms. Davenport, as clerk of the board, to handle the chair nominations this evening.
Are there any nominations to have someone serve as chair for 2025?
I'd like to make a nomination, if this individual is willing to do this again for us, put Lindsay Robinson as chair.
I nominate Lindsay Robinson as vice chair.
Well, we got to do,
How you
chair
doing?
first. All right, we got to do
We
chair
have a second
first.
on that.
Yeah, so if there's a second for Mary Sue. Y'all don't want to, okay.
Oh, I thought we did already.
So far, Ms.
I've
Bancroft
had
has
it only one vote,
nominated
that's it,
Ms.
so-
Robinson.
Mary Lou nominated,
Mr. Edwards
she nominated,
Vice chair.
You need a second.
All right, so we either can have a second and we'll have to vote on it.
Yes, ma'am.
And the first.
Yeah, so I nominated that, I asked if Lindsay Robinson would serve as chair for the next year.
And normally you would ask, are there any other nominations?
Are there any other nominations?
For chair.
Yes,
Correct, for chair only, that's where we are.
yes. I would like to nominate Mr. Justin Padlet to serve as chair.
So then you need a second.
I'll say,
Is there a second?
Is there a second for either of those nominations?
So you just seconded something, which one?
No.
we already had one home.
We either need a second on Lindsay or a second on Justin.
But we had to vote. Or the.
Well, Mark, yeah, so technically you can take all your nominations and then we have to vote, make a motion on who we want to serve as chair officially.
Yes.
That's how we do it.
So I have a second for Lindsay.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought I'd
Give me a
already
second.
done one
Okay,
for
so we have a
Justin.
second for Lindsay.
Getting confused.
Now, do we have a second for Justin?
I'll second Justin.
Okay.
Are there any other nominations?
So then you would close nominations.
All right, so I will now close nominations and we will need to have vote.
If there are no more nominations.
And
Pretty
The
simple.
nominations were closed.
correct,
I
we have
mean,
two
Since they are-
nominations that have both been
then
seconded.
you got one for chair and one for vice president.
Well, I think if I understood,
Yeah, I got.
the
confused
presiding
there.
officer,
Correct,
there were two nominations for chair. Is that accurate?
that is correct.
And two
There were
seconds.
two nominations and each was seconded, so currently we have a nomination and a second for Ms. Robinson and a nomination and a second for Mr. Catlett. And we are only at the position of dealing with chair, vice chair will come afterwards.
Yes. So then it would be those in favor of, for the deputy clerk, for those in favor,
We can't hear you.
Speaking.
I think you ought to do roll call with this.
those in favor vote aye for Ms. Robinson, and then those in favor for Mr. Catlett. So it'd be two votes.
Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Which one are we? Clarify which we're voting
This is,
on.
this is
So
a,
the
this
first
is
one will
for
be for Ms.
Ms.
Robinson.
Robinson.
That's
Okay.
what I
This is
thought.
for Ms. Robinson. right here.
Now, as what?
As
As
chair.
chair.
We're not
Only
considering
dealing with
like-
chair.
Both of them are up.
Once we
Mine would
elect
be
a
named
chair,
on
then that individual will preside over electing a vice chair.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm grateful that I was nominated, but
You're more than
I would-
nominated, but you just tell us what you really
I
want.
would, that's why I nominated Mr. Catlett for the position, so that helps y'all vote a little easier.
So,
Ms. Hazelwood, if we could do a roll call vote on Ms. Robinson as chair, followed by a roll call vote on Mr. Catlett as chair.
okay.
And actually, if you have a majority vote for one, then you don't have to take a second.
Okay.
Mr. Edwards,
Nay on the,
Mr. Catlett,
Nay.
Ms. Bancroft,
Well, I guess I'm in
Mr. Hodges,
Nay. You got a,
Chair Robinson, do you vote on this?
She does.
Nay.
So then, just to be complete, I would recommend the vote for Mr. Catlett.
Okay.
Mr. Catlett,
Yeah.
Ms. Bancroft,
Yay.
Mr. Hodges,
aye, why did you hesitate?
Mr. Edwards,
yeah,
Could have made it.
Chair Robinson.
Aye.
So then at this point, Mr. Catlett operates as chair and holds the election for vice chair.
Congratulations, sir.
We can just move after. the
All right, we'll
session.
move on.
This
Okay,
does
that's
enough.
Okay.
All right, so I'll take a motion for the election of vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I nominate Mary Sue Banker as vice chair.
Okay. You have a nomination.
I nominate Lindsay Robinson as vice chair.
At least we know what we're doing now.
Any other nominations?
And you should have a second to each.
So nomination, well, he's a second for
Mary Sue,
Mary Sue.
I can't say them all.
Mary Sue can second herself.
I'll second Mary Sue.
And then a second from.
I'll second.
So,
So we're doing the same thing, voting for Ms. Bancroft first.
and if there's a majority, then that's it.
Ms. Bancroft?
Nay for me.
Mr. Hodges?
Aye.
Mr. Edwards?
Nay.
Mr. Catlett?
Nay.
Chair Robinson? Oh,
Okay, yay.
All right.
We need to know in there with that.
I would recommend that you actually do an affirmative vote
Yeah.
and not just take it as the negative implication.
This is for the vice chair for
Yeah.
Ms. Robinson. All right, Mr. Hodges?
Nay.
Mr. Edwards?
Nay.
Mr. Catlett?
Aye.
Ms. Bancroft?
Aye.
Chair Robinson?
Aye.
So you have a vice chair.
We have vice chair.
Obviously did not discuss any of that. All right. You're fine.
Nice.
Well,
All right. Item C, the adoption of the Board of Supervisors 2025 meeting calendar. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Calendar.
actually, I do.
I had discussions here.
Okay. You want to go ahead? Liz?
No, ma'am, you're fine, go ahead.
So I think there was a question on. We had said, so Memorial Day would be a meeting. And I would like to know, can we just move it to the 19th? And then that way we would have two back to back, the 12th and the 19th. I mean, is that okay? I mean, we're probably gonna be really busy and have a lot, and
Yeah.
I think we might as well just, make it back. That's my suggestion on that.
So moving 26 to 19.
And then we've got a July 14th NACO conference. Same deal, can we just have July 21st and July 28th? Instead of the 14th, maybe 21st and 28th.
Do we even have funding to attend that? I don't think we got.
Yes, we
I
do.
didn't go last year, I don't think so.
Yeah.
We might get a chance to this year though.
Where is that conference?
Hold on a second, I don't remember, but it's in the calendar, so.
While she's looking for that, I was looking at our June. I am not gonna be in town for that June 23rd meeting. So y'all can have it without me, I reckon, or I think this past year, we just did one meeting in June, because I think Mr. Hodges had conflicts with something as well, and he was gone like the week before. One of us weren't gonna be here for something, so.
And so, Mr. Chair, actually, the NACO conference is apparently in Philadelphia,
Correct,
Pennsylvania.
it is, I just found it.
For both times in November as well.
No, July conference is in
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. The
And then the
November conference is
legislative
NACO,
conference
and
is in
that's-
DC.
Well, the
The
November, that's,
November conference is NACO,
that's
which
big.
is here in Virginia at Homestead.
So do we want to keep the July 14th?
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, keep it if none of us are gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't travel to that
I
one.
wouldn't either. Okay, so we just keep that one in July 14th. So we got June, we need to figure out.
Yes, in June, we can just do June 9th, or,
And strike June 20th.
Let's just do the ninth. We probably need a break then.
Okay.
So striking June 23rd.
And my understanding of looking at it, the proposed schedule has already moved December 22nd. That's the only way I really have. Correct.
Oh, it did?
December 22nd has not been moved yet.
Oh, I thought it had on that copy I saw.
All right, let's back up. Can we do November? So let's look at the November the 10th, the VACO conference, which is like what some folks do go to. And I would maybe might want to go to that one this year. So can we move the November 10th to November 17th? That'd be again 2 back to back.
Yeah, fine with me. Yeah, the Thanksgiving holidays a week after that again. It's another late Thanksgiving, so it shouldn't interfere with holidays or anything like that.
So we'll adopt November 17th in addition to November 24th. And then I did December 22nd, that's to me just too close to Christmas. A lot of folks do take a week off. So do we want to back that one up to the 15th or do we just want one?
We don't do one this year.
This year, we only did one in November and one in December, so if we're doing 2 in November and 25, we'll probably go with just one.
So do we want to do the,
Keep the 8th,
Eighth.
strike the 22nd. That work? With your schedule going?
I'm good at this point. I think with all the changes, we're gonna need a whole new print of that form.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just so we make sure I have it straight. Moving May 26th to May 19th, November 10th to November 17th, and canceling June 23rd and December 22nd. Any other items?
That's it. And a holiday.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the calendar as amended.
so moved?
So,
All in favor? So we're going to the adoption of the 2025 county holiday and pay calendar.
If I may, sir. I'd like to go.
Have that.
All right, so. I was opposed to the holidays that we gave this past year, but not much I could have done about that. And here's the way I look at this. I've worked my whole life, prior to this, for a small employer in Richmond, and they have the basic holidays. If you want holidays, you should take extra time. If you want extra time, you should take it as PTO. We pay our employees 40 hours, but they only have to work 35. So they get paid for 40, so they're getting 5 free hours every week. So that's free money we're giving them. Let's just say it's an average of $20 an hour. And if we only just say calculate people here in the admin building, we're giving away free money per person of $5,200 a year, just on their normal work week. So if we had 25 people in the admin building and we give them an extra $5,200 a year, that's $130,000 we give free money. So we're gonna give, half of 4 hours additional time for November 26th, 8 hours for November 27th, 4 hours for December 24th, 8 hours for December 25th, 8 hours for December 26th. We're giving a whole lot of free money away. And I think we need to stop it. And I think you get Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and you get Thanksgiving Day. If you want time off, you take PTO. It's a lot of money we're giving away. We already give hundreds of thousands of dollars as it is every week, every day.
but in relationship to the commercial businesses out there, we don't pay what they pay. No over here. Give them the time off, I think is,
Well, they get 5 hours free every week,
I understand that,
but that's what
but
PTO is
we
for.
did that a long time ago again. I mean, we can change it, but I don't agree with changing.
It's increased from the time that I was working here, they're getting more and more. And I don't understand. And we probably need to stick with what the banks do.
You say that again.
We need to stick with what the banks do, not with what other government entities do, but what the banks used to do. I know for a fact that the treasurer has to come in on like the next day after Thanksgiving and make a deposit. Because she's got money that's sitting there and the banks are open. If we're supposed to be running this like, and I know people will object and say, well, this isn't a business, but no, it is a business. And we need to be more in line with that. I'm sorry, that doesn't make me really positive. Just trying to think about the county's money that we paid out.
No, valid point. Is there a way we could look at numbers or anything before, I mean, can we put this to like our next meeting to see maybe numbers on that or? Or, no,
We absolutely could get numbers. I think we would at a minimum need you all to address January because we're currently scheduled to be, based on this calendar, giving a holiday this month, which would be before the next meeting. If you could at least address January, I think we could put the rest of it off.
Quick question, Ms. Davenport, we're not proposing anything different than what the state of Virginia follows, correct? We're not adding anything above what the state implements?
Every year, the state goes back and forth on how they address the
Okay.
day after Christmas. And I would have to double check what they put out for 2025. Thanksgiving is exactly what the state does. But they always change Christmas depending on how the year falls on the calendar.
Ms. Davenport, don't they many times add to?
They do frequently add, yes.
And Mr. Chair, that usually, you don't find out about that addition until a month before or something.
Or less.
They want to get as much credit out of it as possible.
But the basic structure, we're following state holidays, yes.
are other localities similar to what we do as well? I see a lot of head shakes
Yes.
throughout.
The localities that differ,
Uh-huh.
they will occasionally not make, for instance, Election Day a holiday, or they won't make Yorktown Victory Day / Columbus Day a holiday. In exchange, they'll give their employees a floating holiday of 8 hours to use as they see fit whenever they want. But they give the time, it just is not assigned to the day. Okay.
I just pulled up the Virginia Department of Human Resources Management, and their 2025 calendar is identical. So that's already what Virginia's already proposed as.
They got more money than we did.
No, I mean, I think that's, I mean, I agree, Ms. Bancroft, that's a valid point, but the same token too, I mean, I know this past year, our employees and staff were extremely grateful for those couple extra days off, and I mean, I can't tell you how many thank yous, and we appreciate it, you know, I received, I kind of agree with Mr. Hodges, that it is, I know we're talking money too, but it's also a perk and a morale booster for our staff.
And I look at it from the perspective of the citizens overall of the county. You know, not the employees, but the citizens of the county.
I see that side too. I definitely agree and see that side of it.
I'll say I have a hard time. I mean, my holiday schedule is a lot more generous than what's proposed here. So I don't feel like saying I'm gonna argue to reduce the number of holidays, and I'm never sitting at home. But if there's proposed changes, we're pleased.
Well, we ask our people to do a lot. And like to say, they don't pay as high in the county, our surrounding county, for the most part. So therefore, I think that's a valid point too.
Mayor, so based on the date, so what the holiday, what times are you thinking? Day after Christmas?
No, Christmas Day, half Christmas Eve, and Thanksgiving Day.
You know, the day after Christmas,
No,
I'd be,
well, I can pick you up.
So your proposed change would be dropping the half day before Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving. And the full day after Christmas.
You'd be surprised how much work you can get done in the office that needs it when it's quiet like that.
I think I've already expressed my mind against changing. A lot of people do travel at Thanksgiving. Big family.
That's why they take PTO.
No, we don't give a whole lot of it, though.
Well, I guess where we're at is any other discussion on other potential dates.
I'm in favor of leaving it like it is.
Actually, do you want to make a motion to strike those dates?
Oh, sure, I'll make a motion to strike those dates as I discussed.
All right, so there's a motion to strike November 28th and what, 26th and December 26th. Is there a second? Is that? All right, and the motion dies. All right, so is there a motion to adopt a different calendar or as presented?
Make a motion, we adopt the 2025 county holiday and pay calendar as presented.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay,
All right. Moving right along to the adoption of the Board of Supervisors bylaws and rules of procedure for calendar year 2025.
should the bylaws as noted state 2025 and not 2024 as the PDF? Should that say calendar year 2025? I mean, like, I didn't understand all of this. Adopted the
It
8th
does say.
of January and re-adopted February. Why are we not saying 25? I don't get it.
I think it should be.
These are exactly what you adopted January 8th of 2024. If you would like to adopt them as written, then they would be printed with calendar 2025 adopted January 13, 2025. But since they've not yet been adopted, we couldn't print it that way. But
And Mr. Chair, if you adopt these bylaws, would ask you to authorize county administrator me to take a look at, there are a few things that probably need just a little bit of tweaking. I mean, an example is that in the first one, section 1-1, when you have a canceled meeting, it's supposed to be held that Thursday. And that's not really how it works. Anyway, we just, if Mr. Chair, if the board would direct us to take a look at those and propose any amendments later in the year.
So bringing it back is what you're saying, basically.
I mean, go ahead and adopt it. You should, but then just to say that we'll come back to you with some changes later. That's all.
Is that the only thing you've seen? So
There might be some other things. I just use that as an example.
I think we generally move it to next Monday, don't we?
Is there any discussion of those changes?
I'll make a motion that we approve supervisor bylaws and rules of procedure for calendar year 2025, knowing that Ms. Davenport and Mark Flynn will be making a few changes for us to amend at a future date.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. So we move into the adoption of the budget schedule for 2025.
I don't have any issues with it. No.
Just updating the calendar to reflect of January 26th to reflect today's date for the approval of the budget. Just clerical corrections to correct the inclement weather.
Say that again.
The proposed calendar has January 6th, our original organizational meeting, as the date that we will approve the budget calendar. That will just need to be updated to reflect today, since we had inclement weather and canceled that meeting.
I'm good with it.
Discussion. All right. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Lindsay,
Second.
who did?
I thought I already did.
Your motion was
No.
made.
You beat the first.
Oh, okay.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, so now we're gonna move to new item 8A, which would be our,
What about the
And
minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to read a
yeah.
proposed motion if you'd like.
Change the agenda.
So when are we gonna discuss the approval of the minutes from December 9th?
After.
Okay.
Closed session. Yeah, we'll go right into that.
Okay.
Mr. Conway, please.
So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it would be a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2, 3711A3, the discussion of disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in open session would harm the negotiating position regarding recreational facilities.
So I will make a motion based off Mark Flynn's recommendation.
All right.
If I worded that correct.
We have a second.
A second.
Roll call.
Mr. Edwards,
Aye.
Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Bancroft,
Aye.
Mr. Hodges.
Aye.
Chair Catlett.
Closed session. I'll entertain a motion to reconvene the open session.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Bancroft,
Aye.
Mr. Hodges,
Aye.
Mr. Edwards,
Aye.
Chair Catlett.
Aye.
Now, Mr. Chairman, someone should make a motion to certify that while that the matters that you went in closed section for are lawful under the Freedom of Information Act, and then while in closed session, you only discuss the matters for which you went into closed session.
Do I have a motion to certify?
What he said.
I'll second it.
All right, roll call.
Ms. Bancroft,
Aye.
Mr. Hodges,
Aye.
Mr. Edwards,
Aye.
Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
Chair Catlett.
Aye. Well, is there any action from the closed meeting?
Yes, Chair, I make a motion to continue to pursue a potential transfer of real estate.
A second.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Hodges,
Aye.
Mr. Edwards,
Aye.
Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Bancroft,
Aye.
Chair Catlett.
Aye. All right, so we move back up to the beginning. So move on to our consent agenda, the approval of the minutes from December 9th. Open that up for discussion.
Yes, and I can't pull it back up right now, but page 29 in the December 9th. It was stated that we agreed on a 1/15/25 regular meeting, and I don't know that that was correct in those notes. I don't know that we said the 15th of January, because that would be like in 2 days. I pulled it up earlier, but now I don't find it in the packet. And then also on that one as well, It was stated on page 33, I believe the comments were switched between Mr. Edwards and Mr. Hodges. Mr. Edwards spoke about Christmas tree lighting and doing it again next year, whereas it got stated that Mr. Hodges said that. You didn't say that.
I didn't say that.
That's right, and it's switched in the minutes. So that's incorrect in the minutes. Just, that's page 33 needs to be corrected, and then I think on page 29, I don't believe we agreed on the 115-25 regular meeting. I think that maybe was supposed to be 113, so this could be a typographical error. It was online earlier, now I'm getting rid of it.
I don't see it.
I do see the flip flop and supervisor, I was a supervisor. I was a comment.
Those were the only changes that I've had after having reviewed the meeting minutes. It was there, otherwise I would have been a page number.
I know we're not having these on the 15th, so we just,
Yeah, it just needs to be corrected, that's it.
Yeah.
Just the two items need to be corrected, other than that, I don't have anything, so I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes from December 9th.
I just wanted to clarify with our clerk. I know we had a few constituents reach out to us about the December 9th meeting, where Mr. Catlett made some contingencies upon a CUP, and I just want to make sure they were changed. I believe staff did to reflect a certain number of 50 instead of the 100, and a couple other type of
It
errors.
was in there.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure we're good, so the public did address those issues. We did take care of this.
Yeah, I read that.
Okay. All right.
So the other two items are flip flop in the comments and then that date. We have a motion, we have a second?
So,
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we'll move to item 9, presentations, and I'd like to invite Mr. Jay Sundell up from Robertson Cox.
Good evening. My name is Jay. I am partner in charge of the audit, Robinson Farmer Cox for the county. I do go a little bit quick on my presentation. I ask that you have my notes, but of course, stop me at any point if you have any questions, or if you don't have any questions right now, you can ask them finance, and finance can get it to me, and I can reply via email or give you a call. With that being said, I'd like to start on page 1, which is the audit opinion. We are giving the county what's called an unmodified opinion. What this is stating is essentially that the financial statements are materially correct. I do want to talk about, the county did have a restatement of beginning balances. Really, it just has to do with proprietary fund and what's considered cash equivalents and the cash flow statement, but I'll go over that when we get to that point. Next is page 6, which is Exhibit 1. I usually tell boards that Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2, these are financial statements that are on the accrual basis, but I usually tell boards not to give too much credits to these exhibits for the fact that they have adjustments made by the state for VRS and OPEB, things that at the county level, we have no control over. But with that being stated, the financial position for the primary government is $24.3 million at the end of the year. And this is an increase of about $750,000. And then Exhibit 2, which is page 7, this is your accrual income statement. Again, on that basis that you all are not able to really make adjustments for. But again, that shows about $750,000 of your net position or net income for the year. Page 8, which is Exhibit 3, this is the county's balance sheet on a modified accrual basis. This is how you keep your fund balances. So this you do have a little bit more control over. The fund balance at the end of the year was $15.7 million, compared to about $18.9 million the prior year. Again, a decrease of about $3.1 million. But your unassigned fund balance is about 7.2 million, which is down a little bit from 8.1 million the prior year. Cash and investments at the end of the year was 18.5 million. It says up in my notes, but really it's down from 25.5 million the prior year. Page 10 is Exhibit 5. This is the county's income statement on that modified accrual basis. Revenues were 47 million for the year, up about 3 million from the prior year. Now, this is a little bit inflated because 1.5 million was an increase from contributions for the school board associated with construction. But for the most part, all the categories increased a little bit in revenue from the prior year. Expenditures were about 51.5 million, which is up from 47.3 in the prior year. Again, most of this increase is evenly distributed, but there is a large increase of about 1.2 million from education. Page 12, which is Exhibit 7, this is your your proprietary water and sewer fund balances. The net position at the end of the year was 3.4 million. The next exhibit on page 13 is the income statement for your proprietary funds. And your net income at the end of the year was a little bit of a loss, 208,000, but this includes transfers out of 1.3 million to the general and debt fund. So if you take that out, the water and sewer funds were very healthy for the year. Page 14 is Exhibit 9. This is your cash flow statement for the water and sewer funds. The cash flow was a negative 2.8 million, but again, this includes transfers out as well as a 3.2 million used for capital construction. As I discussed earlier about the restatement, really 9.5 million is restated as cash instead of investments from cash flow purposes. This is money that's in the SNAP accounts that's used for cash flow. It's considered to be cash equivalents. But that was the reason for the restatement. Doesn't change anything from the fund balances. Page 38, this starts your note on long-term debt. I really think this is great for the board to see when debt is due for planning purposes. It was about 30.7 million in long-term debt for the county and about 9.8 million for long-term debt associated with the water and sewer fund. And pages 39 and 40 kind of show the timing of these debt payments. I think it's good for planning purposes. Page 89 is this is a detail that restatement of the prior balance. Again, as stated, all we're doing is restating what's considered cash for beginning cash flow purposes. Page 121, Exhibit 37. This is the balance sheet for the school boards, and Exhibit 38, page 122 is the income statement for the school boards. They usually tell the counties that what their contributions were, and the county contributed 16.4 million to the schools last fiscal year. This is kind of what I think is the meat and potatoes of things. Page 131 is Schedule 1. What this is this is your schedules of what you guys budgeted for revenue and what you actually received. I think it's always good for boards to see how well they're doing on their budgeting compared to what actually happened. Before we get too far, on page 134, you might see, hey, there's a negative 171,000 associated with the use of money. What happens is that the county a little while ago issued some debt, and they had the money that's unused for that debt goes into a SNAP account, which makes interest. Now, you all issue debt at a lower rate than the interest that you're receiving because interest rates are high, and the federal government kind of says you can't do too much of that, so you have to send some of that money back. And so you're showing a negative 171,000 as revenue. The reason why is because the government says you have to send some of that money back to them. Going to page 135, just the bottom line of that Schedule 1. The county budgeted revenue of 50.7 million. We received 47 million. This is about 3.7 less than budgeted. It's primarily due to the use of the ARPA funding and revenue from the use of money, like we discussed. It's a negative number. Page 139 starts Schedule 2. This is your budget of your budgeted expenditures, your actual expenditures. And on page 143, you'll see the county budgeted for 62 million for expenditures, but spent 51.5. And this variance is mostly due to the construction budget and fiscal year 24 not being used, not being completed. Page 169 is our auditor reports on internal controls. We do show a few findings, which I'll discuss later. And page 171 is the auditor's report on compliance for each community program. And there was one finding that I'll discuss in a second. Page 174, this is your CFO. This shows your entire federal expenditure, so that's much of the federal money for both the schools and the county. And it was 6.2 million roughly of federal expenditures for the year. Page 178 is our schedule of findings and questionable costs. Again, this does show a finding, which I'll discuss in a little bit. But we did audit 3 major programs: ARPA, Education Stabilization Fund, and School Nutrition. We do have findings. I do want to discuss what a finding is. There's 2 types of findings. A material weakness is a deficiency in internal controls where there is a reasonable belief that there could be material misstatements. They wouldn't be able to be caught or prevented because of the deficiency. And then a significant deficiency is a less severe material weakness. Yet it's still important and enough merit to bring to the board. We'll start on page 179, reporting a finding regarding formal policy or procedures for approving journal entries. We did report this as a significant deficiency. We do think that could be improvements there. Page 180 is report a finding regarding accounts receivable not consistently be posted in the general ledger. Primarily has to do with the water and sewer receivables, and we're calling this a significant deficiency. Page 181 is we're reporting a finding regarding interfund transfers. The interfund transfers just were not in the accounting system properly. Again, this is what we call a significant deficiency. Page 182, report a finding regarding capital assets and the related depreciation not being posted in the water and sewer fund. Proprietary funds are treated much like a regular business where you have to report your assets on there, and they just weren't in the fund balance. This is a material weakness because it wasn't material to that fund. Page 183, report a finding regarding reconciliation of investment accounts and the transactions not being reported in the general ledger. These were material adjustments that were made, so this is what consider a material weakness. Page 184, this is your federal awards finding, and there was one finding as associated with the ARPA compliance. The report that was due was 1 day late. I know it's only 1 day, but it's a red line. Page 185 is our report of Commonwealth findings. This is regard to the Virginia Procurement Act. We didn't find evidence on one of the contracts with the performance and payments requirements that are in the act. And then we did issue a management letter. So I think I gave you that management letter. It just has to do with the bank reconciliations, some amounts that we were off. Now, again, these aren't material, but it's just something that we do like to bring to the attention of the board. There was a management comment last year. We're required to follow up for it. You do have a management comment for it this year. I will say there has been much improvement in the finance department, I believe, in my opinion. I was not, I'm being frank with you, I was very concerned at the beginning of this audit process, but I think that finance department did a lot to make things change. Is it perfect? No. Is it better than it was? By a lot. You have any questions for me?
What was your main concern? What were you most worried about?
I tell this to a lot of boards when I feel like finance departments can improve. It's about stability a lot of times. And there was a lot of change. You all know better than I do how much change has been in that department. And there's a lot of institutional knowledge that left. And it took a while for the finance department to catch up. But I think they are on the right track. They really do. That, you know, I think there are so many people going in and out. Things got lost in the shuffle, and you'll see that, and that's what a lot of our problems are. Things just getting lost in the shuffle. But I think you have the staff there now that this won't be a problem going forward, as long as there's stability.
Any other questions, comments? I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, we're along, moving to our public hearings. I'm gonna invite Ms. Wonfolk, to go through our first public hearing, which will be a minute for the question.
May I interject?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for getting ready.
Legally required to accept the audit.
Thanks.
Yes.
Family.
No, I'm sorry. Motion to accept.
So do I have a motion to accept?
Did you make a motion?
No, I didn't.
No, I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right. Any roll call? Roll call.
Mr. Edwards,
Aye.
Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Bancroft,
Aye.
Mr. Hodges,
Aye.
Catlett.
Aye. All right, now.
Good evening, Joyce Wolf, Planning. And I'm presenting the public hearings tonight on behalf of the Planning and Zoning Department. I will start by saying that all of these were advertised and notices sent in accordance with Code Section 15.2-2204. And the notices, advertisements and notices were done in accordance with that. The first item we have on your agenda for public hearing is the amendments to the cluster ordinance. I'm sorry, wrong way. So we are in a county, we're in a jurisdiction that has a population growth that has been 10% or greater between the decennial censuses. And as such, by code, we must provide in our zoning and subdivision ordinance a provision to allow for cluster subdivisions. Now, clustering is to preserve open space. It's to stack lots in one part of the property, as you can see by the exhibit there, the photo that's on the right, and leave predominantly the rest of the property open. The goal of this is to maintain the rural character that was identified in our comprehensive plan as a significant goal for the future. Clustering on a site while preserving the open space and forested areas, farmland, sensitive historical areas is a balanced approach to maintaining that rural character while being responsive to a growing need for housing. The proposed ordinance that is before you tonight would replace the two existing sections that reference clustering. One of those is in chapter 66, which we have determined is a duplicative section that needs to be repealed. The Planning Commission is hearing that tomorrow evening, and it will come to you at your next meeting. So this would replace the section that's within chapter 86. And the main changes to that ordinance are to make the conservation lot have to go within a permanent open space easement that would be with an approved governmental or not qualifying nonprofit entity, not the county as this says, but the Planning Commission actually removed that. And to the maximum extent possible, the sensitive environmental features, open fields and mature woodlands would be protected. These would be considered major subdivisions, so public roads, to meet out public road standards would be required. One dwelling would be allowed on the conservation lot. The density bonuses that were in our existing ordinance were removed. There were density bonuses if they were both public and public water and sewer, and if workforce housing was implemented. It's really hard to track what workforce housing is in this economy. And so that was removed. The minimum lot sizes would be dictated though by the provision of utilities. So with both public and water, you can reduce that lot size down to 15,000 square feet. With either public water or public sewer, 20,000 square feet. And with private utilities, the lot size would need to be 40,000 square feet. The dimension and setback standards would be the same as those that are in our R1 suburban residential district. This ordinance, the proposed ordinance was modeled more after what Hanover does and their clustering, and I think is a better approach to the clustering while maintaining safeguards and providing, the preservation of the rural, character. So in the proposal, the conservation area would be 70% of the overall parcel size. So if you took let's just say the bottom line, 100-acre parcel, the conservation area would be 70 acres. The remaining acreage would be 30. But of the density is still 1 per 5 acres, which is what we have in our current AC district. So on parcel of 100 acres, you could get approximately 20 lots. And that's, again, can be based on topography and other environmental features, maybe more, or maybe less, rather, can't be more. And then if you look at what's allowed by right in the AC on 100 acres, it's around 7. So the effective change from the by right number of lots would be 13. Now that 7 is based on the 25-acre exempt lots and a minor subdivision on the balance. So that's what I have. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have on this. Again, we're required to do this per state code to have a cluster subdivision ordinance, and this was really to clean up what we had, put in some more safeguards, and to model it after Hanover, who's had some success with it.
Do you have any questions you want to ask the public hearing?
I mean, I have a question, but we can do public hearing or whatever. I'm good with either one.
All right, well, I'm gonna open this up for public hearing. Is there any speakers on this?
Mr. Couch?
That's the next one.
Thank you.
All right, so-
That's it for public hearing.
all right. Is there any speakers that want to speak on this hearing? It isn't that, that's okay.
Yeah, I just for some clarification. I see you had for the public water and sewer, it's a 20,000 square feet.
With either, if you have
Yes.
public water or public sewer.
Okay, correct. And it's 40,000 with the private utilities.
Correct.
Is that for the 20,000? Does that still leave us enough room for drain field areas or any of that? Is that worked out?
Yes, so that would be, yes, you're correct. So on 20,000 square feet with private sewer, if they have private sewer and public water, it would depend on what perks, but it should be enough.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering this, the difference in the 20,000 and the 40,000 and where that come up.
Right, so, and you have to have the separation between your well and septic, which is where that main,
Yeah, I was just, with the difference of the square footage, I was just thinking, like I said, this child was enough area for drain field reserves.
I believe so. Again, it's going to be determined about
Where
where,
the septic tank can be
where it's-
placed,
where
where
it
the well
goes,
can
yeah.
be placed, because it's gotta be 100 feet apart.
yes.
But typically, 1 acre will do that.
Typically,
You're
1 acre.
6,000 square foot of
Yeah.
that, but.
And we're looking at half of that.
Well, yeah,
looking at
20
half, yeah.
20,000 is less than half acre lot.
Yeah.
So,
And we can, if you want to condition this based on verifying with the health department, what their minimum recommendation would be, we can do that. This is what was in our current ordinance. These are the sizes that were in our current ordinance.
The 20,000 square foot is okay because you've got public water.
Right. Or
sewer,
vice
which
versa. Yeah.
Eliminates
The
cross
separation.
contamination there.
Sure.
that's all I have. Question was.
The question, you said that the preservation of open space, conservation law, the planning commission removed.
They removed that the county would be the holder of that easement. They did not want the county to be in the business of monitoring and enforcing these open space easements. They want that left to the private or the public-private entity that would be the holder of that easement, such as Department of Historic Resources or the Virginia Outdoor Fund. those are two examples of entities that hold those conservation easements. And there should have been examples in your packet of what those easements would look like.
Yes.
What they do is restrict certain activities in any future building on that easement. And those entities would be responsible for enforcing that. You have to seek approval if you wanted to do anything on that easement. And with what the planning commission recommended, or the current ordinance in front of you, is there could be a house on that conservation easement. They felt like having it belong to a homeowners association would not meet the bar of protecting it, as well as a single owner that was under the easement requirements.
Well, that's an entity that's set up to do that.
Any questions? Commission? I'll say, let's add the condition of approval by the
And they would, for building permit, they would have to get approval as well for that. But again, we don't want to set them up for failure by having a lot that's not going to accommodate it, so. I will make that change.
entertain motion to approve that with the
I will make a motion to approve it as noted.
second.
Second.
That's the ordinance change in the local.
Ms. Bancroft,
Aye.
Mr. Hodges,
Aye.
Mr. Edwards,
Aye.
Ms. Catlett, Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
Chair Catlett.
Aye. All right, we'll move on to the next one. Just yours.
Yes, so farm housing was erroneously deleted from the 2021 code update. And this is a provision to put that back into the ordinance and the use matrix. Section 86-11 requires that no accessory building on a farm or otherwise shall be used for dwelling except in accordance with specific provisions of this chapter. And as I said, there are currently no provisions in the ordinance, so this is to insert those provisions. The farm housing amendment would include language requiring the size of the farm to be 50 acres or more, unless a smaller size is approved by the planning commission. They were concerned that there could be smaller than 50-acre farms that would need this provision for farm housing. And the number of structures would be limited to 1 per 50 acres. The setback and size standards and occupancy limitations and use restrictions are also included in the proposed ordinance to prevent or to prohibit market rental or short-term housing use of a farm structure. To construct or to use an existing structure or to construct a new structure would require the issuance of a zoning permit. It would also, if it's an existing structure, have to conform to building requirements. And if it's a new structure, would have to also follow building code requirements to be built. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Just briefly, a couple of other things. Maximum size would be 2,000 square feet. That can be 1 dwelling unit or split into 5 within that 2,000 square feet. The occupancy would be limited, cannot exceed a total of 10 occupants. RVs, tents, and similar other similar structures would not be able to be used. And the use is only allowed by workers and their families only. Happy to answer any questions.
Well, I got one question up front. So it says that with planning commission approval, wouldn't that be recommendation from the planning commission to the board of supervisors for approval?
It's the way they worded it, it would be an administrative approval by the planning commission, just the planning commission. It would not come through the planning commission to you.
Yes, I think that was made because if you have a person that's on 10 acres, then it would still apply to them because that's the way we did it. So they can build a secondary house, work. So we set it at 50 acres, so it can't be abused, it can be on a selected basis approved for lower acreage. Isn't that the way it was?
That was the way it was intended, yes. Another option would be to make it a variance process. You could do it that way. Where it's a zoning permit by right if it meets all the other requirements. The only requirement that would need to be granted a variance would be the size of the farm. And that is set up right now as an administrative matter for the planning commission, but we can certainly make it a zoning variance if you would like.
Do we have any of those that are existing right now?
Yes, probably not meeting these exact qualifications. So those that are in existence prior to this being adopted would be non-conforming, existing non-conforming
Get that
uses.
straight?
With that,
Do we make sure that gets straight?
they would not have to comply with this ordinance. They would be existing non-conforming. If they came in to expand the size or to, try to build another structure, they would have to comply with the current ordinance.
And one thing that just hit me when I was reading all of this, it talked about the workers and their families, and that it should be occupied by the persons employed to work on the farm on which the structures are located. Do these have to be legal workers?
We don't get into that in this ordinance.
And I was wondering, does that fall on the state?
Yes, that would fall, yes, and the individual farm.
They're migrant workers in a lot of cases. So
We're not policing that.
Right, just wondered who it was. Okay.
Any other question?
No.
We'll open this up for public hearing. Is there any speakers on this one? Okay, Mr. Couch.
Good evening, Chris Couch from District 5. My concern on this all along has been this 50-acre just number that came out from, I don't know where, because we've asked, and I've asked, and we haven't been able to see any benchmarks from other localities where our last ordinance even said. Say you're a farm on 52 acres and 45 of that is in wetlands, not even being used, you get to build a house, but you're a 45-acre farm where you're using all of that except for 1 acre. It just doesn't make sense. And what I see is this, we don't really define what that farm is, but if you are a farm, you're now treating farms differently. You're choosing to treat some of them that are above 50 acres one way, and the others have to go through this planning commission approval, which concerns me, honestly. I mean, based on how I've been treated with some administrative matters in this county, I've seen others, businesses have been treated with administrative matters, leaving it up to speculation with no requirements for really what it is. My suggestion to the planning commission was take 58 acres out altogether. You want to prove that it's a farm. There's FSA, Farm Service Agency numbers. There's your scout file Schedule F. There's ways to determine if it's a farm. Why we are stuck on this 50 acres, I'm just seeking some understanding. How do you justify, and how have you come to that determination? And how do you justify approving 50 versus 20, right? Just pull numbers out. If we're just pulling numbers out, let's pull a different number out. For full disclosure, I have 44.6 acres, right? So there you go. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Do we have any other speakers on this matter? Public hearing closed on that. Is there any comments, questions?
So I understand that this had been enforced and then somehow it inadvertently was omitted. For how long had it been omitted?
Since 2021, and I apologize, I do not have the previous one here with me tonight. But I can look into that. I think,
I thought it had 58.
I think it did too. I think it
And that's
had-
where that started.
But, that's,
Mr. Couch does have a valuable point. Maybe we could send this back
and
and
there are
reword the
affidavits.
language.
There are affidavits that can be filled out with the farm number, and that would prove that it's a farm, that it's an agricultural operation.
I think that's probably the best way to handle it, because I do agree it could be swamps. You might be farming crawdads or something, but
Yeah, I agree. I think looking at some reasonable basis to identify a farm versus just sheer size would be more proper.
He's right too, like you could have so many acres of swamp and.
Yeah.
I mean, that can't really be considered.
And I echo other comments too. One thing I was gonna ask, if you could explain like the rationale, we're limiting the size of the structure to 2,000 square feet, I think, and we're also limiting the number of people to 10. What was the?
To limit the size, just pure and simple, to make sure that it's not, a dormitory size building that, that was an effort to do that. But again, there could be instances where a farm might need more than that. This was just the guidance, to go by the first draft that the planning commission.
the only
recommended.
part that concerns me is migrant workers and their families. So it could be a family of 6. And that's almost the entire staff, and only 2 of them are working, the rest of them are kids. So that doesn't work.
I mean, I fully agree. I think this one needs another look
Yeah.
and not look so hard on size requirements or limiting certain size, but more look on what actual farming and function looks like today. Is that, will this conform to what we have going on, or is this gonna, be a detriment to our farmers that we currently have, or limit them from being able to expand their operation?
If we haven't had it since 2021, we need it.
I think we're supposed to back up, aren't we?
Not that I'm aware of.
There was some concerns with the other housing. When we changed on a 5-acre parcel, you can have 2 houses on every 5-acre parcel in the county. Right now, without any zoning changes or anything.
Right, our accessory dwelling unit, ordinance right now says you can have a second dwelling on the property up to 800.
800 square feet, that's where it capped it up. So, I think that factored in a little bit too.
If we don't need it, we send it back.
I think, personally, I think it needs to be sent back and be relooked at to get a little bit better,
Cleaned it up. Cleaned it
yeah,
up
a little bit better version than we realistically, from the board standpoint, take a look at it on our side to see if it is. And they can always send it back, we can always deal with that if we deem that it's not, but we probably need to do our homework with our farming community, see how they kind of look
Are
at
you
this.
seeing a lot of people look at what's the guy?
So send it back.
I'll entertain a motion. I said I'll entertain a motion.
Kirby for him, because he's got huge farm there.
I'll make it motion to send it back.
I second.
All right. We have a roll call.
Mr. Hodges,
Aye.
Mr. Edwards,
Aye.
Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Bancroft,
Aye.
Chair Catlett.
All right. Joyce, we'll move on. Then. This will be for public hearing on CUP 03-24.
Yes, so before you, this evening is a conditional use permit, for Mr. Richard Schreck. He is the owner and applicant. The request is a conditional use permit for an accessory dwelling greater than the 800 square feet that we just spoke about. Mr. Schreck, his residence is the historic plantation horn quarter. And there is an existing structure behind the main home. There, right there. And it is currently, or it was a residence, a second residence. And he would like to expand it beyond the allowable 800 square feet, which requires the conditional use permit. The carriage house that is being expanded would go from 813, I'm sorry, it would increase by 813 feet to a total of 2,797 square feet. As I previously, or as I said before, this is existing, it was grandfathered as a non-conforming use and is required because of the expansion to meet our current ordinance requirements or get a conditional use permit, which is the avenue we've gone here. The current ordinance allows that an accessory dwelling by right in the AC district, which is what this is, subject to that it can be detached, can be no more than 800 square feet. It shall obtain all proper permits and comply with the Virginia Department of Health, and they should comply with all applicable provisions of the building code. The surrounding area here is agricultural and rural residential. The proposed use is in conformance with the comprehensive plan in the area, which designates rural residential and agricultural uses. And it's in a remote, mostly farmland section, and is not, the ADU is not visible from surrounding public roads. It is behind the main home. The well and septic has been approved to serve the accessory dwelling, and it will use the current existing access off of Edna Mills Road, so no new access is required. And the applicant's here if you would like to ask any questions, and I would be happy to answer questions as well.
Are there multiple fixture dwellings on that property now, looking at the photo?
I'll let Mr. Schreck answer what's on the property. He's very well versed in the history and everything that's there.
Good evening, sir. Good evening. Good evening. So this is an 1829 Virginia plantation. So there are 7 buildings on the property. The one we're talking about here was originally the carriage house for the main carriage on the first floor. The upstairs was one giant bedroom where all the house servants lived. Since it's, I'll go get the word life, it has been modified substantially over the years. When we bought the place 40 years ago to work on the main house, which is our interest, fortunately, nobody ever messed with that. We couldn't live with the condition it was in, so we did at that time, redid the inside of it. The basic problem we're gonna do is I have a daughter who wants to come live there. We've used it as a guest house over the years, and my son lived it when he graduated from high school. But the bathrooms and the kitchen were squeezed into a dwelling that was still original for the most part. And the upstairs was divided. And my wife and I are kind of purists on the restoration stuff, so we wanted to take the original carriage house back to what it was and open the upstairs up. And in order to do that, we wanted to pull all plumbing, electrical, everything out of the original carriage house and put it in a frame addition on the back that is designed such that you don't really see it from the front, and it is ties in and architecturally with the rest of the buildings, and looks like it's been there for a couple hundred years, like the rest of the property. Didn't know we were going to run into the county because you got some new ordinances, and then like, well, okay, what do we got to do here? So
This doesn't have a historical designation.
we are a Frederick place. We're on a national register. We're a national building survey. We're Virginia Historic Landmark.
Is this gonna affect that?
I'm sorry, is it
Is it gonna affect the historical?
No, if you really get into all that, we've been down that road since we first bought the place. And, all those things, they made it sound good. But as long as you leave the outside looking kind of like it did, you can cut the entire inside and they'll still give you those certificates. So our place is, I think I've moved one wall in the entire main house. And that was just to make a bathroom, more modern bathroom. But, so no, I mean, but you can see the lower roof line and stuff were all set up so that, you cannot see it. If you're staying at the main house, looking back at it, you won't even see it. The addition, on the back.
And I would point out it is not in a King William Historic District,
No,
so it does not have to go before the Historic Commission.
And, recommendation was to approve.
Yes, to approve with, the conditions that the accessory dwelling would be in substantial conformance with the plans that were provided. And no further expansion of the accessory dwelling unit would be allowed without an amendment of the conditions.
And so you say there is sufficient, septic, well and septic to accommodate additional bathrooms?
so the great thing about that, it's already had its own septic system. It's only for the carriage house. It's been there longer when we put a whole new system in when we did the main house. So, yeah, it has its own.
How much can that withhold, or what's the capacity?
Well, I don't know, but I'm going from 2-bedroom to a 1-bedroom.
You took, how many toilets did you take out of?
I'm sorry?
How many toilets did you remove from it when you remodeled it?
2,
And how many you put back?
2.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's your answer.
Yeah.
Because that's how they rate.
Yes, she says in her approval that, no bedrooms will be added, so.
Yeah.
Is there any more questions? Public hearing? Yep, you gotta go to the public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Trevor. We'll open up the public hearing if there's any speakers. None? Any speakers on this item? All right, we'll close public hearing. Any more comments, discussions, questions? Recommending we approve. We want to approve with the condition was
As noted.
as noted from the.
Condition.
So we have a motion to approve with the noted conditions from the planning commission. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Roll call.
Mr. Edwards,
Yeah.
Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Bancroft,
Aye.
Mr. Hodges,
Aye.
Chair Catalyst.
Aye. All right. Whoops, there we go.
Okay, so the next case on your agenda is conditional use permit 04-2024. This is for Queenfield Golf Course. The applicant and his contractor are here this evening. And the request is for a conditional use permit for commercial outdoor sports and recreation, which is the public golf course and accessory uses and buildings in the agricultural district. This is the overview aerial of the golf course area. This request came about because this course has been in operation for many, many years. When it was originally approved, it appears to have been done through a site plan process, administrative site and construction plan process. The current zoning ordinance provides that commercial outdoor sports can be allowed in the AC with a conditional use permit. Because this was an existing non-conforming use, and the owners would like to replace the existing clubhouse with a larger clubhouse, that precipitated the need for the conditional use permit to bring it into compliance with the current ordinance. They are looking at replacing the existing I have it here. The existing clubhouse, and I know many of you have probably been to Queenfield, the existing clubhouse with a stick-built structure, and would remove the existing building and tie into the existing systems that are there. These are the proposed building elevations for the new clubhouse and the new floor plan, which would include a dining area, kitchen facilities, men's and women's restrooms, and a pro shop area, also a large covered concrete patio area. So conditional use permits are typically granted when there's no detriment to the surrounding area. Because this is an existing operating course, there are no new impacts, no new entrances, etc. The Queen Hill Golf Course is listed in the comprehensive plan as a tourist attraction, and the applicant, this is not, the assets of the King William County that attract both locals and visitors alike, as quoted in the county's comprehensive plan. This is in an area zoned agricultural, private water and sewer. The future land map shows it as rural residential, and the existing surrounding uses are agricultural and rural residential.
Were there any stipulations that have not been met?
Not that I'm aware of. We've received a preliminary site plan. We've received elevations. The one condition that would be required would be one of the conditions that's required would be to obtain approval by the health department that the existing system is safe, adequate, and proper for the new building. And that the building and related site construction would be in substantial conformance with the conceptual plan, and that any future changes to the conditional use or expansion of the facilities would require an amendment of the conditional use.
And they are adding additional bathrooms, right?
Yes, well, there are existing facilities in the current clubhouse, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the new bathrooms would replace the old bathrooms?
Okay, so no additional.
No,
This isn't an expansion, it's a new building.
it's not, it's,
You're gonna have to take down the
Yeah.
design and put in
but it
Is
is
there gonna be
larger
kit-
than the existing building.
Is there food service or anything like that?
There's a kitchen area. There's a kitchen area down to, this, my pointer's not quite working, but anyway, there's a kitchen area, snack bar, dining area, the entry area, I understand would be the pro shop area
Right.
with the counter, and then the men's and women's restrooms. There is a future office area. The total square footage, I believe is right around 3,000. And as I said, the applicant and his contractor are here this evening if you have any questions.
Any questions?
Shouldn't we hear from the health department first that he's got adequate and safe and proper systems that he really, before we say yea or nay?
The condition is that he would have to provide that or get a new system approved by VDH.
And that would be the board's decision. That we ever see the building anyway.
That would be part of the
They
building
won't get a
permit
permit
process.
without it.
We would not grant a building permit if he doesn't have the adequate facilities. He'd have to build a new system if the current system doesn't meet the new structure.
And this new building replaces a what size building?
Let me see that I have it written down here. The existing building is 1,288 square foot. And the new building would be right around 3,100.
And does he have to go through storm runoff studies or anything like that?
There are no changes to the existing site besides building the building, and that would be covered under the land disturbance permit that goes along with the building permit. And there are minor changes to the parking area, which is gravel,
I was gonna
to
ask that
provide
next.
handicap.
Let's improve his
Right.
paving, so that's not runoff concern.
There's the site plan. The concrete pad for ADA parking spaces proposed and an access aisle to the building.
Can you say the
But that would
other,
be under the 2,500 square feet.
the other
for land
building's coming
disturbance.
down?
What's that?
The other building is being taken down?
Correct. The other building would be removed, would be raised.
Any other question? All right, we'll open up public hearing on it. Any, let's speak. Nobody wants to speak on it. All right, we'll close public hearing. All right. Any other question? Comments?
Motion approved.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll second it.
And is that, Mr. Chair, is that the motion with all of the conditions that staff recommended?
That's what I was about to ask.
With that, recommend- yes.
So there's a motion to approve with the conditions recommended from. Second. All right. Wendy second. All right, roll call.
Ms. Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Bancroft?
Aye.
Mr. Hodges?
Aye.
Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Chair Catlett?
And I did want to give my credit update.
Yes.
I just wanted to give the board a quick update on some projects that are in process. I've spoken to the developer of the Wawa site. They are within 30 days of turning that over to Wawa's contractors. They estimate an approximate 6-month build out once that occurs. So we're looking at July, August timeframe. Dunkin' Donuts, waiting for an ENS agreement and bond to be able to issue the land disturbance permit. I expect that in the next week. We also have a couple of residential townhouse projects that are getting ready to get their land disturbance permit. Pinecrest, which is adjacent to the King William Manor and King William Place apartments. And then Kennington Section 3C, which is a continuation, that's 31 townhomes, continuation of Kennington Meadows. We've had the Upper Mattaponi Tribe office building site plan is ready to be approved. Their building permit is in process. This is an upfit of an existing structure at 7772 Richmond Tappahannock Highway. Coming up, we have a conditional use permit for a cell tower that is, on Locust Hill Road. This is a 197-foot monopole for Verizon use. The applicant has scheduled a community meeting for January 29th at 6 p.m. at the Upper King William Library. They are also having a balloon test on January 23rd. So if you drive by there, you'll see the big balloon up and it'll show where that tower would be located. It is on 75 acres, so I'm not sure how visible it will be. And then that would be on the February 4th Planning Commission, so it would come to you later in February if it passes the Planning Commission. We have various ordinance amendments that we've talked about tonight. Signs and accessory structure ordinances are in process, and they are on the Planning Commission agenda tomorrow night. So once we get those through, I've been talking with the Planning Commission about doing a comprehensive overhaul or at least a review of the ordinance and trying to get a strategy for addressing some of the inconsistencies that we're finding. So, but to not continue to piecemeal, to look at it in a comprehensive manner. Any questions about that, about those updates?
Oh, man, thank you. And wish your daughter happy birthday. Sorry we kept you.
I will.
All right, we'll move right along. We will move into our citizen comment period. So, how many speakers?
We have 5.
5 speakers. All right. 5 minutes for speakers to come up, just please state your name and your.
Do I have to put my name on the list before?
Would you
I
like
can
to
go
add your name?
Okay.
Mr. Robert Minter?
Good evening, board members and Mr. Chair. My name is Robert Minturn, and I reside at 216 Pointers Drive, West Point, Virginia. I wanted to speak to you tonight about a letter I saw. To whom it may concern. All right, we'll get to that. So let's talk about campaign promises versus actions. Sheriff Funkin emphasized during his campaign that he cares about the safety and concerns of all the citizens of the county. However, his decision to terminate the shared dispatch contract with the town of West Point creates potential risks for delayed law enforcement response and undermines the safety of West Point residents, including children in public schools. If he truly prioritizes the concerns of all citizens, why the blatant disregard of the input from the citizens of West Point? Sheriff Lumpkin highlighted that protecting the safety of children is a top priority. However, transferring law enforcement responsibilities from the West Point Police Department to county patrol deputies jeopardizes rapid responses to emergencies, including those at West Point Public Schools. I must emphasize the importance of rapid responses. From our current location to my home is 16.8 road miles and an estimated 21 minutes. Sheriff Lumpkin has repeatedly promised to be visible, personable, and reachable. However, his letter to the town of West Point outlining the termination of the shared dispatch agreement was only made public by the town of West Point. Neither the sheriff's office nor King William County has provided transparency or public acknowledgement of this critical decision. In his campaign, Lumpkin boasted of his strong relationships with families, businesses, and organizations. If those relationships are truly important, why is he dismantling a long-standing service agreement that supports West Point's businesses and families without offering a clear, community-driven alternative? Sheriff Lumpkin promised to represent all the citizens regardless of political views or geography, yet his actions suggest West Point is being deprioritized in favor of centralizing services, leaving its residents with fewer resources and less direct protection. I respect the role of an elected official and the mandate that you've been given by the citizens. I urge you to carefully consider the broader implications of your decisions and the relationships they impact. As an elected leader, your position comes with the responsibility to unify and advocate for all constituents. If this were a matter of employment rather than election, the decisions made and the lack of collaboration would warrant a thorough reevaluation of your leadership role. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Couch?
Good evening again, Chris Couch from the District 5. At the start of this board's term, many of our newly elected board members emphasized a commitment to transparency and running government like a business. The topics I'm very fond of. Now that we've seen 12 months performance, I just want to offer some feedback in 4 key areas around communication, transparency, performance management, and financial management. First, with communication. The dissemination of county information has been severely lacking over the last 6 months. For the past 5 months, email updates and Facebook posts just non-existent. We weren't even notified residents of office closures due to weather or the local holidays. Despite criticism of the previous board's practices, myself included, transparency has not improved under this board. Since January 2024, I have documented over 40 FOIA violations, and I've verified all of these with the Virginia FOIA Council. For example, only 40% of the Board of Supervisors approved meeting minutes have been posted online. Not a single one of the Planning Commission, not a single one of the EDA, not a single one of the Social Services Advisory minutes have been posted under the 7-day policy that the state code allows for. This was also brought up last year during your financial audit and the management letter, highlighted some of these meeting minutes that were missing. If I were to pursue legal action for these violations, it could result in penalties of up to $1,000 per offense. There's over 40 of them. Now, I do not plan on pursuing legal remedies. I do urge the administration of this board try to prioritize compliance with FOIA law and the accountability to your constituents in the upcoming years. On multiple occasions, this board entered into closed sessions under specific declarations, but later emerged clearly having discussions that exceeded those declarations, all while then issuing the standard SR1 certification without due consideration. These are willful violations of open government laws, again verified with the Virginia FOIA Council, with potential personal financial penalties for board members. Just today, I received the notification saying that one of my FOIAs had been completed, and please see the attached. There was no attachment, and that was never responded to. And that was on January 2nd. Check your dates once that passed due as well. Meeting streams or recordings no longer display that presentation that we all saw just now. Nobody sees that online. Those presentations are not posted online. They're not available during the live stream. They're not available during the recording. They're not made available before, during, or after meetings. The lack of accessibility undermines citizens who rely on virtual resources to stay informed. Now, performance management. So there's core business practices such as strategic planning, restructuring roadmaps, key performance indicators, quarterly goals, metrics, and dashboards. Haven't seen a single one of them. There's some that have been mentioned in press releases, but again, based on FOIA findings, there's no documented evidence that any of this exists, anything other than being aware. Financial management, a topic that I think you all know I'm very passionate about. That 24 financial audit that you guys just reviewed, it raises some significant concerns about its accuracy, the content or lack thereof inside of it, and the deficiency findings, consistent with issues that were identified over the past 4 years and still have not been addressed. Despite this reasonable assurance audit continues to be rubber stamped by the auditor, county finance, and this board. The allegations of financial mismanagement were raised in October, including concerns about the auditor's performance and felonies that were previously committed remain unresolved. Citizens, myself included, would appreciate an update on these accusations and findings. So in there, I've got a list of things that are wrong in that CAFR that nobody asked about. And as fast as that presentation was and as numbers are being thrown at you, I don't know what value we got into that, right? But for once, the library, look at the library budget. What was budgeted and what was actually spent. It's an interesting one for you guys to start with. So in summary, this past year has highlighted deficiencies in core areas of administration, finance, and planning. I believe those to be basic functions of local government, and I would hope that this board addresses those before deciding to take on any new initiatives. As we begin a new year, I urge this board to focus on these foundational issues as a way that we can better serve our citizens and move forward together. Thank you very much for your time and for your service.
Thank you.
Ms. Mason?
Hi, Lisa Mason. I have property in the 2nd district and the 5th district. There's a lot of people behind me that have either spoke with me or live near me that are very disappointed in the decision you made last meeting about the Mr. Sneed's CUP. There's questions about what you guys really approved. I know a couple of people have been in here trying to find out what's really approved. I've been in here trying to figure out what's really approved. A friend of mine, who's a friend of Ms. Davenport's, called her, and she told him that she didn't know. A friend of mine was also told that we have to wait till the minutes came out, and that's why we've been a little concerned about what's been in the minutes. I originally read the minutes and saw the 100 people on there, and I said, whoa, that's not right. I know that's not right. So I come back to look at the minutes for tonight's meeting, and I'm pulling them up right here, and it says that one of the conditions is any signage to comply with the ordinances of county. Now, isn't that assumed? That's exactly what it said. Does that mean that Mr. Sneed doesn't have to follow the other ordinances in the county? Because he has to put a right of way between the property lines when he puts a driveway in. He needs to put a buffer in between our properties, and that was never mentioned as a condition, and that's in the ordinances. One of the other things that I brought up a couple of times now is nowhere at the state level or the local level is a cabin defined. You gave him 3 cabins. I'm only to assume that that is an accessory dwelling structure. Well, you gave him 3 accessory dwelling structures on his property. That sets a pretty bad precedence for, hey, I got 2 kids. Maybe I'll just build them an accessory dwelling structure and they can live on my back of my property. I can do 2 800-foot accessory dwelling structures, put them on there, have each kid move in. Nobody's going to say anything because you set a precedence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Davidson?
Good evening, Tom Davidson, District 2. I wrote you an angry letter after your last meeting, reversing your decision on the spot about the CUP relative to Mr. Smith's property. That was a long, drawn-out process. Unnecessary meetings, incomplete applications. The planning commission, I'm reiterating things you already know, unanimously advised against it. Most of you voted against it. I was angry in my letter because it appeared as though what Mr. Hoy and Mr. Sneed said right before you went into closed session might be true. Basically, their premise was you mistreated them, discriminated against them. That made me mad. I'm mad about what happened in terms of you reversing your decision. That made me madder. Turns out that's not what happened. I even asked for you to apologize to him. Turns out the county administrator did. I did. It wasn't necessary because I asked in my same letter with somebody on the planning commission or the board get back to me. One of you did. None of you did, but Mr. Kellum did. And he called me and said, I said, I'd like you to put me straight if I'm wrong. Set me straight about that apology request, about the way Mr. Sneed was treated. He said, well, Mr. Davidson, I'd like to take a few minutes. I appreciate that. He took a few minutes, very polite, very professional, and explained to me, Mr. Dixon, no. The processes that were followed in the case of this subject being Queenfield Golf Course, CUP, Mr. Sneed's CUP, were fairly administered. There's nothing wrong with the way they're administered, Mr. Davidson. So, no, there was no discrimination. All right, so I say, well, then what appeared to be your reaction in the closed meeting to pivot on a dime and throw all the process away appeared to be a reaction to that charge. Now I find out, Mr. Kellum, I think a very credible source, I think you'd agree. That is not true. Then what was the reason? Have I missed, has there been an explanation? No. Okay, there's been no, I know of no explanation for your reversal of your decision. I'm asking for you to explain that. I don't think you'll tell me now, you might never answer this. I'm gonna ask the county administrator for an answer. What the reason for that reversal was. I think we deserved enough after that process. And I think your credibility is very much harmed by not letting us know. It was a fair process. Now I know it's defensible. I know I was naive to react angrily like I did. Now I'm angry about you not letting us know. What's that?
That was an okay response for you to be happy.
Well, thank you for saying that. If I'm wrong, let me know. Okay, I'll put that out there too. All right, somebody got back to me. I appreciate that. I'd like an answer. Thank you. In closing, I'd like to thank law enforcement, fire and rescue. I see them here in the room. I appreciate what they do. I don't think they get thanked enough. So thank you for the extra moment.
Thank you.
Robbie Barber.
Good evening. I had Chair Robinson, but canceled his election, so I'll say Chair Catlett and the board members. Robbie Barber, Second District. Tonight, I'm sure you know why I'm here. I'm speaking out of pure disappointment in events that took place at the December 9th board meeting and then in the closed session. The board went into closed session and then came out and reversed their decision on CUP 01-2024 after the board had denied the applicant in the previous meeting with a 4-1 vote. The application for the CUP had been recommended for denial by the county planning office, had been denied by the planning board, it's been denied by your board. Board went into a closed session, came out and reversed their vote to a 5-0 to approve the 5-0 to approve the CUP. This was done without any knowledge of this happening by any of the adjoining landowners, neighbors, or neighbors of the subject property. The optics of this doesn't look good on the board or on our county. This was brought up in a closed session and without knowledge of this coming up again. At the November 18th meeting, when the cup was denied, the board made a point of record to say that the subject was dead at that time and the applicant could reapply 365 days later. I want to thank Ben Edwards and Lindsay for answering my phone call the next day, even though I wasn't in the best moods, and talking to me about it. But I'd also like to point out that Mr. Hodges and Mr. Catlett to this day have not returned my phone calls, called me back, answered the phone. Pretty sure that the county's providing you both with phones for your role as a supervisor, and I would think it would be in your best interest to answer and return phone calls from the residents of this county. The board, as stated earlier tonight, ran on a platform of being transparent to the citizens of King William County. The optics of this decision on this cut without proper notice to the surrounding landowners and neighbors does not provide any transparency to the citizens of this county. The board has approved this cut without regard to the surrounding landowners and neighbors of this project. As per the King William County ordinances for conditional uses, 86-44 subset 1, I believe the current board has missed the mark in protecting the rights of the surrounding landowners and neighboring properties. I do appreciate the conditions recommended by Mr. Catlett, but I know, and all of you know, King William County doesn't possess the resources to even try to enforce it. I find the vote after the closed session yielding 5 votes in favor of this project alarming when just several weeks earlier, 4 of you voted it down. This kind of change of decision does not look very positive for this board, lends itself to something going on that's not above board for the county. The King William County government is not looked at in a very favorable light currently. This is just another example to add to the list. Thank you for your time.
Thank
you.
What's your last name? Wagner, okay.
Good evening, here we go, off the cuff again. My name is Jeanette Wagner, I live in the 5th District, and I was going to comment, first of all, on the comments that were made by a board member about the amount of money that's wasted with vacations, et cetera, of the county employees. However, they have had a hard year with the changes in government, with the changes in their departments. A lot of them have left, a lot of them have lost their jobs. But I think you have to think in terms of they don't get paid that much. They work hard. They work from 8:30 to 4:30 in all probability with a half an hour for a meal for their lunch. I know, having worked in government, you work much longer than the 8:30 to 4:30, and you work nights and weekends and go above board, but you never really appreciate it. And I was told once I was just a secretary, and secretaries do secretarial things. Well, that doesn't cut it. So I would say, if you're so worried about saving money, why don't you do what the town of West Point does? They pay their council, or the last time I heard, they pay their council a meal, a sandwich, crackers, chips, a drink, and maybe a cookie. That saves a fair amount. I understand you all make, the last time I heard, at least 11,000 each, with an additional 1 for the chair. We could save a bundle of money if you went the West Point route and showed your conscience of what is wasted in government, and you're willing to put it out there and do it without compensation, except for a cookie and a sandwich and the smaller amounts. You don't need the 11,000 or 12,000 if you aren't going to back your employees for one thing. And then as for the rezoning issue, the cup, I have never seen a cup or that switch of the board of supervisors to deny something one meeting and approve it the next. And what they say when someone withdraws a motion or withdraws an application or is denied, it is 365 for the state code. And you really ought to be thinking about that. What you did last time, I'm not sure if that's legal, but to me, it doesn't seem legal because you've started the issue. So I'd say, think about what you all get paid, think about your employees. If they need the vacations, they go with the state, with whatever the state says for their employees, follow it. There's no need to come back and have a half day before Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving. Do what you should do to protect your employees, to protect the county, and try doing the West Point method. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's our last speaker, so we'll move on. We don't have any unfinished business. We'll move on to the new business. And so we'll start.
Chair Catlin, if I might approach council briefly.
Sure.
Thank you. I'm before you today to address the information in your packet of contract for service agreement between King William County and the Middle Peninsula Planning District. For us essentially as a partner member in that planning district to hire the planning district commission to organize and assist all of the members of the 9 jurisdictions that are members of that organization in drafting and planning for the updated FEMA pre-disaster mitigation program, which is required to be in place in order for member organizations to be eligible to get certain FEMA funding and grants. The last update that was drafted of this agreement was done in 2021. And so we are in a position where we need to update it before that one expires so that every member of the Middle Peninsula Planning District Commission is continuing to be eligible for federal funding. The contract that is presented to you is the standard contract that was sent to all member organizations, members of the organization. So all 9 jurisdictions have to vote to approve and allow this to be signed. I will let you know, we have already actually received our bill for the $1,170.57, which would be our locality share that is due to staff of the Planning District Commission for organizing these services. I've instructed staff not yet to pay that because obviously the board has not taken action on this contract. But we have been asked to turn this around no later than the 15th of January. Obviously, this was the first opportunity since I didn't receive it until the middle of December to come before you to have you address this contract. But I think that it is something I would recommend that we have signed and that we enter into this agreement. If we do, we would also need to appoint individuals to represent King William. I have spoken with Mr. Terry about who we've potentially had represent the county in the past. Generally speaking, it has been individuals involved with community development. I think Mr. Hudgens previously represented the county. Ms. Graham previously represented the county, but who we choose to appoint at this point, obviously, we would go from this point after we sign it, and we can have those conversations. But we need 2 individuals.
Any questions or comments?
I don't have.
All right. Entertain a motion to approve or accept.
I'll make the motion to accept it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You're up again. And we will see the administrative matters in your report.
Okay, the first thing that I want to be clear with everybody is our next board meeting is going to be the 27th of this month. And we are closed for Martin Luther King Day on the 20th. So a week from today, we will be closed, and then a week from that, we will have our next board meeting. I know that there was mention earlier about people feeling like they didn't have information about when county offices were closed. I would like to make it very clear, we do, if we close for inclement weather, update the county website. When you go to the homepage, there will be an alert at the top of the page. We also put those notices on NBC 12 as well as ABC 8. We are having issues currently with CBS, but we are making an effort to be able to put it on that channel as well. All county holidays are publicized on the website. From today, in the next probably 48 hours, the calendar of holidays that was voted on will be put on the website. So people should have adequate notice of when we will be closed for holidays. Obviously, everybody's already aware that the fiscal year 2024 CAFR is currently available on the county website. It's in the finance section. If you ever have any trouble finding it, please feel free to call county administration and we can walk you through where to find it. But it is available there and has been for approximately a week. Finance related as well, I'm happy to report that just today we were notified that King William County will be awarded somewhere, well, the exact number is $27,788. So just under $28,000 from the Forest Sustainability Fund. Only 70 jurisdictions applied for funding through that state program, and we were one of the jurisdictions that received it. We are allowed to use these funds to support outdoor recreation and or forest conservation. I would specifically like to thank our Commissioner of the Revenue who took the time to actually do that application to allow us to get those funds. Our treasurer wants people to be aware and reminded that personal property taxes are due this Thursday, the 16th. So she and her employees are going to be ready and willing to serve you over the next 3 days. Also, our Commissioner of the Revenue would like people to be reminded that business license renewals and tax relief applications are due by March 1st. So you've got about 45 days left. High mileage discount applications are due by May 1st. Those have to be filed every year, and there should be some in the room at the back towards the same area that we would make an agenda available to the public. So if you'd like to pick one up and take it with you, that's going to be a quick and easy way. She's also made those available in her office. It's on the website to print. They're at both library locations, as well as the Parks and Rec Center on 360. And she's also dropped some off at the town office in West Point. So you should hopefully be able to access those fairly easily. The other thing that I would like to do is I'd like to address what Ms. Mason said. I'd like for it to be clear that the friend that called me is a licensed attorney. And that individual was asking very specific questions about what was in the approved CUP and made it very clear to me that he was asking on behalf of individuals that wanted to potentially hire him. I did not say I was unaware or didn't know what was in the board's decision. What I said was that because it was not finally approved by our council for us to release it, and because he was calling on behalf of people that wanted to potentially hire him, that I would not be discussing. And I provided him with Mr. Flynn's contact information.
All right. Well, thank you. All right, so I'll turn it over to my fellow board members.
I only have a couple of questions, and actually it's for our finance director. A few months ago, I asked you about some bills that have been paid. I think they were from scams. Have we received the insurance money?
No.
We have not.
That's still pending. We have responded, the insurance company is extremely slow to respond. We just filed another documentation with them related to reimbursement. We went through another phone interview or a phone interrogation, and everything is moving forward. It just takes forever to get them to send them.
Now, I know you don't want to hear this, but how did we write a check for $316,000 to the wrong agency?
I don't know of anything about $316,000 with the wrong agency.
Well, I do.
You do? Which agency
Yeah.
was that? Was it?
One written to the Airport Express 25th jail.
Well, if it went to the wrong agency, that's a little different than it being a scam.
Right.
Right.
If
If we wrote wrong check to the wrong agency, that's one thing. If it went to an ACH or an EDI transfer that took the money offshore, that is a little different than writing a check to the wrong agency. How that occurred, we'll have to sit down and get back to you.
It's an actual check.
Oh, I know, I'm aware of that, I know exactly what you're talking about. So. Yes, we wrote a check to the wrong agency, we did.
And I don't know the answer to how it happened, but I can tell you that I've spoken personally with our treasurer who indicates that it has been returned in full. She personally picked up the check.
Oh, she got that the other day. Yep, short went away. She's like, I'm at the airport, I'm picking up the check. I said, oh, all right.
That's all I have.
No.
She sure did.
I'll go. I've been last for the past year. I just want to say, on January 9th, it was National Law Enforcement Day. And I just want to give a huge heartfelt thank you to our King William Sheriff's Office, their deputies, and also the town of West Point. Thank you all to our men and women in blue for all you all do. I could not do your job, and so just thank you for everything they do. Can't say that enough. On another note, I've made a comment in our last supervisor comments in December that we were going to try to work on a county newsletter and kind of get things so we can get information out to the people. That was something that I have wanted to do. And I'm excited to say I'm going to work with our clerk. She reached out to me soon after with some really good ideas. So we're going to start to work on that hopefully in the week ahead and get some things put into motion with that. And I will agree with Mr. Couch. I would like to see our Facebook page kind of back up and running as a way to get information back out to the people. So we'll see if we can work on that maybe. But the biggest thing I'd like to definitely focus on is the newsletter and get information out to everybody and they can sign up, hopefully by email. So that is my goal. So that's all I have.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. Well, we've been through a lot of information tonight, and a lot of people I guess, throwing stones because they're unsure of how things happen. Those issues will be addressed in the coming future, very soon. We also seem to have an issue where we're having a fight with Westport and with this dispatching. And it was very irritating to me to read a letter written by John Edmonds that commented and said that basically we had refused to go down there. The only way I got to talk to the mayor was by going to his mother and telling him I couldn't get him on the phone, get him to call the police. And he finally responded to that because I guess he was embarrassed to tell his mother he didn't do it. But the point being, they're not responsive at all. And, you know, I'll tell them to their face in front of all of you that that's what I said. And we need to get this thing resolved and be men, come together, men and women, come together and talk this thing out. That's the only way it's gonna get solved. And I appreciate we do have one of the board members up here tonight that cared enough to come up here. And she deserves a hand for that. So that's really where I stand with this. I appreciate everybody coming. I'm not just fussing. All the people up here that have worked so hard to get this stuff going, we take a lot of criticism for what we do. But sometimes what we do is not what you see. Thank you.
Thank you again for such a good turnout. I know why some folks are here and, we didn't really talk about a lot of things, but, I'm in agreement with Chris Couch on many things. I'm like Chris, I agree with Chris on a lot of things in that we need to run this more like a business, and I don't come from a place of being an ogre about vacation and PTO. I come from a place where I've never had that before. We worked our 40 hours. We earned our vacation and we didn't get extra. We just took it. So I'm not coming from a place of an ogre, so please know that. It's just, it's a business. So we did pass that we're going to keep the schedule like we said it was. So I don't know why there's any issue about that. We did vote to keep it. As far as us accepting anything other than what we're giving, I will tell you, we don't get paid enough actually for all that we do. And if you've lived and walked in their shoes, it's not that much compared to all the time and effort that we put in. I've spent some days my entire day on the phone. I know Lindsay and Justin and all of you have been up here numerous days and hours on end. Justin has we've set up an office for him and anybody else who wants to use it so that they can do their job and still try to do their board job. So it is a thankless job. We do take a lot of crap. We get a lot of lies told on us. Just putting that out there. Y'all know who I am, what I talk, how I talk, what I speak about. And, you know, we take a lot of crap and we don't do it for the money because the money's not that much. We do it for other reasons, obviously. So if anybody else wants to run and be in one of these shoes, I would love to see those names out there on that ballot. I really would, but I don't see them. So it tells you a little bit of something. As far as Mr. Lumpkin goes, I'm getting a little sick and tired of people saying things that aren't true about him. I wish people, instead of listening to everybody else, would just give him a call. Because he'll set you straight and he'll tell you the truth. So I'm really getting sick and tired of hearing, well, this and this and that and this and that. Give Mr. Lumpkin a call. He'll tell you the truth. We do need to update various web tabs on our site. I'm looking at one right now on my phone that I snapped on January 5th, and it says our finance department is, let's see, Julie Mills. Let's see, she was the director. We've got Tiffany Barber. We've got, let's see, we've got Gina Hardy and as a reconciliation specialist. So all that needs to be updated. And So we do have things we need to update, we really do. I would like to see, I don't know where we are in the forensic audit, I'd like to know where we are on that. Are we having one? We had ordered one, we had stated we're having one, we all
We were
agree.
gonna have one. Now,
Where
I
are
haven't
we in
heard
that
anything about
process?
it. Wait,
You want me to answer that now?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, all right, so we have initiated a very intensive review of all the aspects that we talked about. Primarily comp board, split levy, checks and check reconciliations. And we have gone through the first two in detail. And there are issues. There are issues. Now, whether or not they reach the level of criminality, that's something that we have to decide what we want to do. I have taken input from our attorney on how to proceed and what to proceed to. One of the issues that we're talking about, split levy. Getting information from West Point is like pulling teeth. More than I can say. We have kind of walked through that because it's difficult. And we're trying to maintain some type of decorum. But we're getting there. We're getting there. The third item related to defalcation, actual people stealing money. All right, that's the one we were looking at specifically. That one has been extremely difficult because the state police have advised us, generally speaking, that most of these items fall into administrative faults. And I cannot find where someone has aggressively stolen money. Now, we have found some items, Mr. Hodges just brought one up, but very interesting to us, check washing. Everyone knows what check washing. And Sharon Mann, being one of the most meticulous people I have ever met, comes up and says, along with Kathy, oh, here's a check that was written to Stryker Corporation in 2023 that had been washed. Wash means they changed the front and they cashed it. And you wouldn't have found it unless you actually picked the check up and looked at it and tested the check and who it was paid. Those things we're finding. That $105,000, $117,000 in the audit specifically relates to some of those items that we are now finding as to why the ledger doesn't balance. The ledger doesn't balance means, as we talked about before, there were checks written, right, that didn't clear the ledger or weren't made into the ledger. Those things occur monthly. Checks are written in cash for a different balance at the bank. Those happen. Those are rolling reconciliations that you have to reconcile. But we are under control in the reconciliation. I will tell you that. Every month we spend a lot of time reconciling those past balances with the school. And we've gone back now to 2022, brought everything forward. And we feel pretty comfortable, except for things that happen day to day are pretty good. But I will say the issue of the comp board, we'll talk about that after we decide what we specifically want to say within Mr. Quinn. The situation with split levy, since it controls the schools, there are lots of resolutions related to the original resolution and the original legislation that don't match. And they came up through board resolutions and board interpretation of how the split levy should be done. One of the issues we deal with is sales tax allocation. Okay? There is an ordinance and there's a resolution and there's legislation on how you have to do that. Specifically, we have followed that. I feel pretty comfortable with that. Unfortunately, we have found errors in the percentages that we use. Even though the base was correct, the percentages were incorrect. Are they material amounts? We don't think so. So right now we're probably in third stage from my perception. I do not see any reason at this point to bring in what I would consider to be a professional forensic company. I think we have done enough work, maybe in some aspect in the future on the checks if we see more. But the other items related to comp board and the split levy, probably we wanted to finish this audit, find a base in the audit to make sure we weren't looking at something incorrectly. And we have that. We just finished it.
That was one of the basis points that tested what we were looking at. Do I see things I'm concerned about? Yes. And again, I have asked Mark, to take a look at the interpretation and how we're doing it, because it is by statute, the way we have to allocate sales tax. Those are big numbers, but I don't think we have an issue. So we're now moving aggressively into what I would consider to be the area of checks, check writing, checks that have the wrong value, checks that have the wrong payee, and find out why. FOIA payments. FOIA payments, that's an area we're looking at. Where did they go? Who got them? That's an area, is it material? No, I don't think so, but we can't find them. Cannot find the payments.
So you're saying, just so I can clarify, so you're saying when someone submits a FOIA and then they get an invoice, write a check or give money, you don't know where any of that money went in the past?
I cannot find it. There's some things I cannot find in that area. That's what we're, and it takes a while to find. So if you're going to look for a check that you can't find it was deposited, you know it's positive because somebody paid it. You can't find where it's positive, who's positive. Who was made to?
How long, how long, when did this?
18 months. It was back 18 months. So we know a FOIA was prepared, we know somebody paid for it, I can't find the check. I can't find where it's a positive in our. So, I mean, is it there? It could be.
Right.
Can I find it? No.
Are the folks directed where to send them? Because I know there are different FOIA people for different departments.
And all of those things, they'll flop around when we try to go, who did it? Is it posted somewhere else? I mean, the thing we talked about one day related to jury duty. Something like that happens, and it's very easy to talk about, very hard to go back and rebuild it. And that was $37,000. But there were checks written, they were posted to the ledger. Was it fraudulent? No. It was a mistake. But digging those things out and going to find it, it takes a while. And that's where we are now. The first two items I was concerned about, feel pretty good about. The third item, where we have to bring the state police back in once we hand everything to them again, that's what will still take longer. But as far as the depth of any issue, administrative possibilities, yes, there are administrative errors that were made. Right. And this next step will be, I want to finish that before the year end. That's my objective. But the audit was a bellwether.
Sure.
It was kind of like, okay, we know, and I put in your package my responses to a lot of the audit comments and audit notes for audit items related to some of them historic. And we have, the staff is now pursuing, or we already has pursued the correction of those errors. So, and I think Jay said it tonight, we're making progress and we're getting momentum. So that's beginning to happen. Now, on the forensic side, am I disappointed? No, I'm glad I didn't find what I thought I would find at this point.
Yeah.
All right, I'm really, that's a good thing. The bad thing is there's something out there I don't know about that's getting ready to landmine, something out there I don't know about. But we've got people that are digging.
Did y'all find the 2 years worth of council checks that were gone?
The 2 years of canceled checks? No. No.
So it's kind of hard to look at those physically and figure out if they were drugged or done.
We have gone back to the files that are over in Treasury. We have gone through those manual files, and I will say that I was pleasantly surprised in what I saw related to documentation. Very forward. The problem, the thing I don't have and still don't have is I don't have the manual to write the invoice. That's the piece that they're looking at in the checks and all the check records. That's what takes some time. In addition to everything else.
The banks don't keep any photographic copies of it.
Some of those, no. Right now, what we're getting is the banks will send you the check number and the amount. Going back and getting them to send you the checks, actual checks is taking a while.
They charge for that too.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So that's kind of where we are now in this step of moving forward related to what do we need related to checks, putting that together and going after the ones that we think are an issue and looking at them administrative. If we made an administrative error, somebody used a P card on something that we didn't catch or administratively, they had a P card they were allowed to use, things like that, then that's not, unless we can prove someone took that money and routinely took that money away and cashed it to their own benefit. Right now, I cannot prove it. So is it there? Yes. We see things, we see duplication of expenditures. Was it fraudulent in intention? Possibly, but it was an administrative guideline that we see. So, do I like it? No. But I can't say, oh, you did that, and then you fraudulently, and here's proof that you cashed that check or took that and sold it or something like that. I don't have that money. Will we get it? And I think if any of you who've ever been involved in investigations, when you go looking for it, you hardly ever find it. And all of a sudden it just shows up and you go, aha, there it is, there it is. So, okay, so that's kind of where we are. I will say that the audit took us a lot more effort than we thought. But as I think Jay said, hey, we got there, and we're taking the audit as a benchmark, as what we have to do for the next 6 months.
And the next one's gonna be easy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Piece of
You're
cake.
gonna keep
Piece of
perfect
cake.
between now
Piece of
and then.
cake. No problem.
All right.
All right, thank
Can I
you.
ask you a favor? I'm sorry. Like what you just said tonight, that was, thank you. Can you do this like
Often.
every, like once, if we have 2 meetings a month, can you pick like the second meeting and give a financial update? I think we've asked for that before. But can we definitely make that happen on our agendas,
Okay.
just for the public to hear it
Sure.
and for us, because, you know, there's some stuff that.
I was gonna do a financial update for the first 6 months tonight. Well, with everything else happening.
I know, it was a lot.
We received
I think
FOIAs,
so, do it next
we
time.
received FOIAs, we received some things we wanted to respond to. So if you look at the agenda for the next board meeting, I'm going to the first 6 months.
Awesome.
And we'll do cash flows, I'll do revenue sources, and I'll
Thank you.
answer questions that you want. Yes.
Okay, awesome.
With the staff now, I know I'm taking too much time, but anyway, with the staff now, we will try to start doing something monthly as we move into this next cycle and get the entries done for year end. I think you want to see something, at least what I call a flash report monthly. Which may not be 45 pages of documents, but they give you an idea of what revenues were, what expenses were, and how much cash we have, which cash out, as you will.
Interesting.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. So, go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to follow up on the question Mr. Hodges asked about the FOIA payments, and do we tell people where to send them? I do not know, because it doesn't seem like anybody can answer what happened before I came here. But now our invoices clearly say that it's to be paid to the treasurer, and I personally have spoken to the treasurer. She knows to expect them. She knows when we issue an invoice, and she and Mr. Wilson have discussed specifically where it should go when it's deposited.
Right.
Dealing with that, just one thing. The response to the receipt that you get from the automatic FOIA still has a person's name on it and email address.
Yeah, I don't think
We don't-
that system's not, shouldn't be live anymore.
It's
Just FOIA, if that's what he's referencing, that is
Just FOIA.
live.
Yeah, we are back with just FOIA.
That's good to know. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
It does have his name, email, and I don't know what else.
All right, we'll talk to Travis first thing.
Okay.
Travis. is in control of it.
I thought Mr. Ashcraft deactivated that when he was here. So that's why I
Mr.
didn't
Chair,
That's
think,
news to me that
yeah,
that's.
that's why I didn't think it was
Just to let you
active.
know.
Well, thank
We're
you.
going back into closed session. We have to finish by
Oh,
Okay.
okay, well, let me
I'm
finish,
sorry.
thank you, I'll finish, I'll wrap up.
Oh, thank you.
So there are some things this year I'd like to see happen. For instance, I want to see county stickers re-implemented because in that way it helps us control the abuse at our dump facilities. So if we're gonna charge for it, then you ought to get a sticker for it, and then that way you can turn people away at the dump station who are abusing their dump. And that is happening, whether you know it or not, it's happening.
Oh, yeah, it's happening.
It's happening. We do need the presentations made available. We need to, like I said, update. Also too, I cannot thank Mr. Wilson and his staff enough. I worked in this department, in this building. I know firsthand what it was like working with the prior staff. We have a much better staff. They are much more
Ept, the prior staff. I'm sorry, people can disagree with me all you want. I worked it day to day, day in, day out. And they didn't know what they were doing. And I'm sorry if you don't agree with me, but that is the God's honest truth. This staff knows what they're doing. And I appreciate that. And I thank you all so much. And I know you all work extremely hard. I know you do. And it is appreciated. But thank you for everybody for still being here.
All right, I'll make this real quick, since we're going time crunch. I'll first start by thanking you guys for having, of course, and confidence in me to run this for the year. I probably won't make it into the year.
You don't have a choice.
But otherwise, being from a guy that served in law enforcement, back at the beginning on the 6th, we had a very terrible incident that happened, and there's individuals both in our professional services and in our community that were here on that scene. I've been through that. I know what they saw, and I know the lasting impact it's going to have. And I want to say, first and foremost, I'm sorry and condolences to the family. We've already conveyed that, but for all of you individuals specifically, thanks for what you did. Not only the individuals that are paid for doing this and that volunteer to do this, but also the individuals that have no reason to do it other than for the protection of an individual they come upon, a passerby. They don't have to stop and they don't have to help, but they do it. So thank you all. So I'll cut that off. I'll talk more next time, or I'll just cut it short every time. We will give we have another closed meeting to go into another topic, so I will entertain a motion to convene closed meeting.
And Mr. Chairman, that would be pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2, 3711A 29, discussion of the award of a contract involving expenditures, public funds where discussion in open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body regarding market resource.
I have a motion based on what.
I have a motion based on what Mr. Flynn just said.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're in closed session. Okay. Ready? All right, I'll entertain a motion to reconvene to open session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then, Mr. Chairman, I need a motion to certify the closed session that pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2, 3712, that the matters that you went into closed session for are authorized by the Freedom of Information Act. And while in closed session, you only discuss the matters for which you went into closed session. That was the
Still
other
like SR1.
Do I have that motion?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
All right, and that is a roll call, correct? Certified.
Now roll call on that, yes.
Mr. Hodges,
Aye.
Mr. Edwards,
Aye.
Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Bancroft,
Aye.
Chair Catlett.
Aye. All right, and just for update, there is no action coming out of this closed meeting. I would just give an update to the public that we were presented with an updated draft of the contract for our review. And we will be discussing that after we review it amongst ourselves and kind of make our notes and everything to submit back to the staff report to take back to the table. So with that, we need to move into, we have appointments for appointing 2 representatives to the Virginia Department of Mercy Management, Middle Peninsula PDC. So, I will, ask for recommendations from the staff. This is a newly done, and actually Mr. Terry is in the audience. I think he might be a good resource too.
I actually asked Mr. Terry prior to tonight who he would recommend. And he indicated that he believed that our new community development director would be a good individual. Obviously, that person has not yet started with the county. We are currently doing interviews, so we hope that someone will be hired before too long. Obviously, I think we could appoint the position instead of having to have an individual's name. It's my understanding, and Mr. Terry, because he's here, can correct me if I'm wrong, that at one point, the former fire chief was involved. You can come forward. I know that previously, the county administrator has been an individual.
So in the 2021 update, there were 7 meetings of the group. This is all public information, is actually part of the plan as to who showed up to which meeting. 6 of them were attended, to my knowledge, by our former deputy county administrator, Mr. Hudgens, and Ms. Graham, our former planner. And the other meeting was our former fire chief, Mr. Reeves, and our person who held my position last, Liz Barzal. They attended the other meeting, so amongst the 4.
Okay. Question for you, what are the other members of the PDC? Who are they? Realistically got on there.
So to my knowledge, it is mostly administrative leads. So the town of West Point, for example, had Mr. Edwards and their community development director. I'd imagine that it is similar amongst the other counties and towns.
I will say, my thoughts and recommendation would be one, community development director when they come in, so the position itself, and then the other side, I mean, we all thought either administrator, Mr. Terry, or our fire chief. That makes no sense in my opinion.
Y'all to appoint somebody that ain't here. I said y'all to appoint somebody that isn't here.
We just appointed somebody they ain't hired yet, so we got him, or her. Who else? Any thoughts?
Don't look at me.
Do you have someone in mind?
Of the people or of the localities that were there, at the time, I believe only one of them had a full-time emergency management representative. And I'm not sure whether they attended any of the meetings or not, but I believe that an emergency management representative would be appropriate to appoint to the committee.
Okay, well, that'd be you then.
So you would like to.
I'll make a motion to
I-
appoint you.
You are good with that?
And do I get a second?
Okay.
I make a motion.
Say,
Go ahead,
repeat your
Terry.
motion. Yeah,
So we're making, is the motion just to appoint Mr. Terry and the other one, or we're gonna make a separate motion, or we're just doing it at the same time?
At the same time, we'll do Mr. Terry and then the vacant position when it gets filled.
To the community development director.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll second.
The interview.
Nah, that'll be a surprise.
All right, I second Mary Sue's motion.
Okay.
Roll call?
I don't need a roll call for appointments.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, favorite part, can I get a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
So now, I'm saying.
So the thing about